What's going on, guys? It's Frito here. Patch notes for Season 19 live today. The Hero Mastery Mode and courses are no longer available to play. The devs say that we're going to be shifting focus away from past game modes that haven't seen as much attention. With this in mind, we've made the decision to sunset Hero Mastery courses, which means they're done. You can now change the color of your team text chat, as well as the pings, and a visual update for when you tab through the text chat. Hero updates in Season 19. This patch primarily focuses on balancing hero perks following Season 18 perk refresh based on pick rate, gameplay data, and player feedback. We're making adjustments to perks to ensure each choice feels meaningful while keeping options fair and impactful across all heroes. Tank roll, Doomfist. Power block ability 2, damage reduction reduced from 80% to 75%. Aftershock major perk, slow duration increased from 1.5 to 2 seconds. Slow amount increased from 30% to 40%. Power block can make Doomfist difficult to punish in certain situations. This change reduces its damage reduction slightly, giving opponents more opportunity to overwhelm his block with damage while preserving the flow of Doomfist's gameplay. So Doom fighting your whole team, slightly less effective. 5% less on power block means that he will get overwhelmed more frequently when fighting too many opponents. But on top of that, when he's executing his gameplay loop well, the slow amount is increased on the major perk and the slow duration is increased as well. So most of the game a nerf, but that specific late game perk is buffed. This type of change, I would say, is mostly even, mostly because a big percentage of winning the game matters at the major perk time slot anyway. We're not quite in a MOBA where an early advantage snowballs into the late game. That doesn't really happen so much. Everybody's going to get their major perks eventually. It's who uses those major perks better usually wins the game, or at least, who functions better with the team fighting at that stage. So heroes definitely can forego some normal neutral fight value to gain it later in a major perk. That's a viable thing. Hazard, Anarchic Zeal, minor perk, lifesteal increased from 25% to 30%, mainly because the other minor perk that sends him farther on his leap feels so crucial for Hazard gameplay, although I will say I like the opportunity to play a little bit of a closer range Hazard with the lifesteal perk. I prefer it. And certainly will make him more effective at brawling when you pick this one, but his map viability sort of hinges on the extendo range on the leap for the longer distances. Junker Queen, rampant charge minor perk, no longer refreshes all cooldowns, but reduces them by 6 seconds. Kind of the same thing. However, some of them are longer. A very minor nerf on this. The shout and axe are longer than 6 seconds, but you don't need to do every action right after you ult. Just ulting enough might have already kind of won the fight. So yes, it's a slight power downgrade, but not a huge one. The major one for me is getting that axe back in time. Getting another shout, that's probably a little ridiculous. Let's just be honest about it. That's probably the most OP thing that is changed with the 6-second cooldown change rather than instantly getting it back. Because that's life and speed you're getting at the end of the unstoppable Queen ult. Yeah, that is a little nutty. But considering Kiri exists as a character to cleanse your ult maybe entirely, I don't know, it doesn't bother me at all one way or the other. Mauga does get a buff. You're welcome, everybody. I don't know why they went and did this. I certainly was seeing a lot more Mauga by the end of the season. My early guides on Season 18, I think, aged well. They're buffing Mauga, ultimate cost reduced by 6%, and his major perk, Combat Fuel, maximum overhealth granted increased from 100 to 150. Critical hits, amount of overhealth given increased from 2 to 3. That's a pretty sizable buff, but I think the reason for it is because you mostly want to go for the auto ignite on overrun perk, because just a little bit of a juicer of extra health is not that big of a difference on Mauga, considering you're gonna get the lifesteal anyway, as opposed to increasing your time to kill as well as getting auto ignite, which just gives you the crits anyway on your normal attack. That's way more useful to his playstyle, but there is a lot of matchups where you are able to farm up a lot of gun damage, which means when you pop that shout, then you're going to be getting even more overhealth. I don't think it's as good as the other perk still, but this one is certainly now looking a bit more competitive. More importantly, though, I would have you guys look out for that ultimate cost reduction, because Mauga is a bit of a tempo character. Like, he plays like Ball, Doomfist, Mauga, they all go in really hard on your backline. And if they have the opportunity to have their ult again, that's a little scary for me on this type of character, because lacking ult in certain situations means he can't take over the game, as opposed to having it. And as you get better at the character, you learn how to interact up against other ults by giving the team a shield or just isolating something to snowball an advantage, and farming that repeatedly in these long, grindy, brawly games. I'm not so sure the community is going to love this ultimate cost reduction. Reinhardt's recharge minor perk, barrier field regeneration rate increased from 150 to 200. A little bit difficult for players to pick a shield-based perk when a extra fire strike is on the table for the other minor perk. However, I think this perk was already really good. Getting like hundreds of shields back per second in either case when repositioning as Rein really suffocates the enemy. I can't stress that enough. Getting an extra fire strike when you hit a stun is going to be useful for your carry impact plays, but hitting the Earth Shatter at all against some teams and matchups is usually enough to win that fight regardless. So you don't necessarily need the overkill potential in those cases in a lot of things, and especially if your shield is going to hard counter a big percentage of the enemy's damage, just having it more is super annoying. This might be a bit of a regrettable perk to come into the limelight, not gonna lie. Wrecking Ball's adaptive barrier major perk no longer consumes overhealth. The visual size has been increased to be in line with Zarya barriers. There's a straight buff on that one. Ball's perks are pretty good because it gives you the option between a elongated animation on his slam, but increased damage, which I like a lot against things that at least are slow and aren't going to get away from you. But the more faster paced the action is, I tend to go for the adaptive barrier, which is just straight up buffed now. And I'll actually say that I think the visual size of it being increased is also a buff, because it's not just personal to him. He can body block with it a bit more and actually tank for the team with it. And considering how much health it has, and it doesn't consume your overhealth as well, that's legit. Maybe a little annoying, but hey, I mean, that's kind of what perks do. All right, Cassidy, even the odds minor perk. Healing per second increased from 20 to 30 per second. A lot of these buffs I'm not a fan of, not gonna lie. I think I prefer the patches where they rearrange the perks rather than tune them like this, because I think some of these perks were out of the limelight for a reason. His other one is the extra flashbang that does 40% less damage, but considering the size of the area that makes it so easy to hit, I think a lot of people go for that one. I like healing on Deadeye. I just think it's like an oppressive idea that we don't need necessarily buffed to compete with that one. A lot of these perks that are getting buffed are just underrated, honestly. And I think more time with the community playing them, trying them out, like you kind of don't need the extra flashbang a lot of the times, in my opinion. Like if you could hit them with the one flashbang, you probably didn't need the second one unless you were missing. I don't know. I can't really say I know for sure that I need the second extra explosion of the flash to land one. I think it's more like, are they dodging or so mobile that I can't hit them anyway, as opposed to just needing it to be slightly larger in AoE. Freya's Relentless Barrage major perk, ammo refunded increased from 4 to 8. Freya is pretty nuts. Once in a while I see her take over a game, but not so often. On most characters, ammo buffs are kind of irrelevant. This one competes with her healing for 30 per second while using updraft until she hits the ground. Yeah, I think you'll take not dying a little bit easier up in the air to even hit any shots to begin with, as opposed to just like not needing to reload. I doubt this buff changes anything. You'd still go with the other one, I think. May's Glacial Propulsion minor perk no longer shares a cooldown with Ice Wall, but the cooldown is increased from 6 to 10 seconds. I like this change because I liked the idea of being able to jump or rocket jump sort of in a way with May, wall jump, I guess. But as soon as I realized it shared a cooldown with wall, I never picked that perk again, because it is just not worth it to get a leap and take away your major carry impact tool of using the wall to either block ultimates or block off the tank or whatever. Wall's very, very good right now. May is one of the better characters, I feel, in the very power crept perk season 18 to 19 transition. So this makes her even better, particularly when she gets up to her major perk. A lot of tanks just can't even function against that. And her health is so high, they can't take space against her. Pretty crazy how robust May is as a frontline control character. Reaper has been nutty Way too freaking good. Before I read his nerfs, I'm going to say the devs comments, Reaper's engage and disengage potential has been too consistent with the addition of Shadow Blink. We've reduced Wraith Form's movement speed to lower his overall mobility, moved Shadow Blink to a major perk, and added Lingering Wraith as a new minor perk to preserve mobility options for players who choose it. Now keep in mind, I actually liked the Health Globes perk, which kind of just shows you how good Reaper is, that even his lesser chosen minor perk already I thought that one was still good too. Now, Wraith Form Ability 1, movement speed while active reduced from 50% to 40%, which means you will not clear as much distance when using Wraith Form. You can't get all the way out of the fight to your team, but I also think, importantly, then that means on some of the bigger maps, he'll be worse. Like, he's way too consistent on every map, basically. Now, importantly, Ravenous Wraith, the major perk that the faster teleport is now taking up, was the one where you got extra lifesteal when coming out of Wraith. That one's gone entirely, but instead now the new minor perk in its place is Lingering Wraith. Leaving Wraith Form grants 40% movement speed for 2 seconds. Oh my god. Okay, so I think that one's way better than this very silly fast TP. Because, okay, you won't get as far with the Wraith when escaping now, but as long as you get around a corner, well, move speed is really, really good. Out of like all the stats you can get, health is like the best. Getting your ult faster, I think I might put number 2. Move speed is up there, time to kill's up there. It's hard to rank them, but this still kind of preserves most of that escape portion of it. But the chase down potential now on the minor perk is nuts. So if you're like a backliner and Reaper TP's in normal, okay, he won't have the fast TP anymore. But again, I felt you didn't even need it anyway. If you're just crafty on where you use it, you get in on the backline, maybe get your free surprise kill 1, then it Wraith Form to reload, maybe get healed a bit, then you can chase for 2 seconds. 40% move speed on the minor perk. Not a lot of characters are moving that fast at that point. They don't necessarily all have their extra escapes and all that. This makes Reaper really nutty at that minor perk stage of the game. I think they actually made him better. For a second, I thought they were actually going to have the lifesteal go back after leaving it, because I felt like that really only affected his ultimate, and typically a lot of the minor perks coincide with you getting your ultimate anyway, and you tend to get to have the upgrade for it or the neutral fight one. So I thought that was a bit more logical of them to do, but here they just give him another neutral fight movement ability, and I don't know. This might be scarier. Especially with Tracer getting tuned back a bit. Tracer's flashback major perk no longer grants 2 blink charges, now increases Blink's cooldown recovery rate by 150% by 3 seconds after recall. The devs say this change creates a short delay before additional blinks are available. This helps limit rapid blink chaining while maintaining flashback's effectiveness. Here's the thing. If you are not a top 500 player, I think you most definitely should take Quantum Entanglement instead. They keep juicing that perk because the perception of just moving more, being more overpowered, it's like, yes, Tracer can tank, let's say, by dodging. Dodging is a form of tanking, but the damage job is to kill things. And the other perk lets you recall where you were, getting way extra ammo and overhealth. So a lot of characters you can just bully over, and it's sort of a auto duel win. In perfect dive comp synchronicity, you're not supposed to be taking damage as Tracer, fine. But I think most players will get way more just from recalling, have extra health, and being on the thing that they want to be fighting anyway, and mow it over. Super underrated perk. All right, anyway. Last damage character, Widowmaker. Seeker Mine, major perk, damage increased from 25 to 50. Yeah, fair enough. Widowmaker's a high performer upside, but inconsistent and a bit of a risk to ever pick in a very power crept version of the game. Because the team shooting and just push-pull is so strong with how brawly all of the characters are. Widow's Boomer Bust often isn't worth it, especially as like a lot of your frontline damage is going to vanish just by picking her. Last up to supports now, Ana's Headhunter major perk critical damage multiplier increased from 1.5 to 2x. Yo, I'm never picking this perk ever. But hey, you will be a force to be reckoned with as Ana, which I think is a good change considering how offensive so many of the other supports are. Batiste, Assault Burst major perk no longer removes healing from Regenerative Burst. Attack speed bonus has been reduced from 30% to 25%. Overall a buff, I'd say. I have been trying it out. I was really reluctant to try to use it on BAP. He's one of my best characters. That one going up against a midair dash option it's a little difficult to get rid of that escape, but having a bit more consistent attack speed. Remember, I think some people don't realize that the attack speed also goes for your healing gun as well. So there's some cases where you're just getting more stats, more healing, more damage just by attacking faster. Especially when you're shooting through your window to maybe burst heal your tank through another ultimate. I don't know, I think this one's a bit underrated. That's sort of how I feel about a lot of these that maybe didn't have the early shock factor for the community at the start, but we'll see how these develop over time. We might all change our opinions 6 months down the line. But certainly losing the downside of it is just, it's a big buff now, I feel. I feel you always take this unless you feel you need to escape the enemy, because the raw stats of it is hard to deny. Also, side note, don't take the auto reloader perk on the minor perk. Very overrated. Just manage your ammo. The extra burst of value from the auto turret is way stronger in my opinion, and gives an extra bit of utility to make you more consistent by hitting a cooldown, especially on targets that are maybe hard to hit at range with your primary heal nade. Illari's Solar Flare major perk resource cost reduced from 100 to 50 on max energy. The healing amount no longer scales with energy spent, and explosion healing is now a flat 100. Considering the other perk is an offensive one, which I think the entire community always wants to pick those, outburst giving a burn effect. I think mainly it's just that I never feel I need higher healing numbers on Illari. Like something that maybe gave her healing range or other forms of optionality. I've seen some people swear by this perk, but I never thought Illari's healing stats were the issue. It was more so the limitations based on her range and immobility. But this one, similar to BAP, makes it a more comfortable option. It's going to be much more reliable. There's not really the downside because, of course, like if you missed with losing 100% of your resource, it's like you might just throw the whole team fight by you having this major perk and misusing it at the wrong time. That's another issue for me. Juno's ultimate cost reduced by 8%. Okay, guys, this might be one of the biggest buffs in the patch. I was trying to say last season, I was like, Juno is just not a very good character, mainly because she needs to be able to farm her ult, and that is the way she plays the game. Everything else is just a dodge and buy time. Very fun, fluid, basic Overwatch character, goes in and out with fights, gets a big vantage point to lock on to everybody. That's her big play in the neutral, and that's kind of it. Her ult has been power crept by the other ults, which seems to happen with every new ult they add to the game. But because of that, it needs to be able to take tempo. This will put Juno probably out of the gutter tier for me as an option, because so much of the game is about your ult right now. And Juno's ult, due to how brawly and mobile everything kind of is, it's difficult to guarantee you're going to even get the fight in it. Like everybody knows it's strong, so you'll just disengage from it. Or it sort of limits Juno to have to be in it, which gives your team almost a like self-grab effect, and that makes you vulnerable to lots of other things. So I don't know, it's been tricky in this season. You know, when she came out, obviously she was the strongest character by far in the support role, but you know, the times have changed with all the power creep around her. Kiriko's Foxtrot major perk duration has been reduced from 3 seconds to 2, and Ready Step major perk duration increased from 2 seconds to 3. Foxtrot way too consistent, giving a buff to Suzu. I'll take that every day of the week. But Ready Step is the offensive one that I just do not have the stomach to attempt to do. TPing in aggressively in order to get some pickoffs. Probably should get utilized by the community more, frankly, but I see most Kirikos play in their own backline still, and it's just such a bad way to play. So bad. But you don't need to do that. You don't even need this perk not to do that. You play the off angles, add pressure, set up flanks. That's how you play Kiriko. And part of the reason why she's got a negative win rate is because so many players just play her wrong. They play her scared. They don't take risks. And well, like the stats on the hero just aren't that impressive. And well, that's pushed even more now with Foxtrot being reduced a bit. They're trying to incentivize you to get in there and go do the DPS support thing, which, yep, you got to do in order to make that character work. Lifeweaver. Life Weaving minor perk rejuvenating dash healing increased from 20 to 30, and the pedal power major perk attack speed bonus has increased from 25% to 30%. Pretty consistent character. Just a little bit of love. I don't think it's going to change his placing all too much. WUYANG, though, major changes. Base health reduced from 250 to 225. Are you kidding me? His staff primary fire, maximum explosion damage reduced from 70 to 60. Maximum impact damage increased from 30 to 40. So same damage, but you have to hit directs to obtain it on a single target, but you'll do less damage to multiple targets. Overflow, minor perk, healing resource generation rate increased from 33% to 50%. And the balance, minor perk passive healing reduced from 40 to 30%. Yo, I love Overflow. I think that perk is so underrated. Popping your skates and getting a big burst of extra healing is nuts. His healing staff is really good, mainly because his ult is so good. And a lot of times you're combining needing to heal with a heal amp. Big heal stats from that. But I suppose that might apply more to your tank, whereas the passive healing boost on your snowflake, I suppose, like the passive heal aura that you gain and impact a percentage of heal stats based on your damage, that's better on flankers. And it is a flanker dominant meta, but I'm not so sure they needed that bit of extra juice, whereas usually like healing up your tank more feels more impactful to me because you'll farm your ult more. But yeah, what do you know? Ebb and Flow, major perk, healing on the return wave reduced by 50%. That's a major nerf right there. So two major nerfs here, health going down on WUYANG overall, which we know is one of the most heavy-handed nerfs they can give to a character, and Ebb and Flow goes down where the return shockwave on the wave coming back is not as effective at healing. The devs say WUYANG remains a strong support with high healing and damage paired with strong mobility. Yeah, I mean, he's got everything except for immortality. We've reduced his base health to make him less survivable of a threat while keeping his numbers impactful. Additionally, slight adjustments to the staff's damage reduce the explosion damage while still rewarding direct hits. All right, guys, that's everything for the main competitive game. I like to focus on that. There is a whole lot of stadium changes too, but I just don't have the brain power to make sense of the madness on that mode so much. Maybe another day I'll get into it, but I prefer to just do the one thing I feel I know how to do well, as opposed to babble about things I don't know that well. Stadiums all over the place. They got a lot of changes, more heroes, more craziness coming. And of course, the new Halloween Haunted Masquerade mode gives a bunch of mask options for you to augment your character. Let me know if you try that out, if you think that's something that they might consider for the main game over time. Of course, perks and builds and all of that seemed like a distant idea at one point, but eventually where they went with the entire game. So that's interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like, and don't forget to click subscribe and the bell icon to actually get notified when my videos come out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito. I'll see you guys next time.